you guys may have heard we got the Chicago Bears are coming to town to take on your LA Rams, and this is going to be some amazing stuff here. We've waited so long. We made it, guys. We did it. We made it all the way through the offseason. We watched the whole first round of the draft without a pick. I mean, something we're kind of getting used to now, but we did it again. Okay? We made it all the way through free agency. We traded for Matthew Stafford before the Super Bowl was even played. You know how long? That's how long we've been waiting for this season to happen, all right? But now it is here. The Chicago Bears at the Los Angeles Rams. Game kicks off at 5:20 p.m., and that is on NBC at SoFi Stadium. Let me get some numbers for you guys here. We'll also be doing a little bit more of the betting information this weekend, actually, because we need to know it. So Rams are favored in this one by 7.5. So the powers that be, they think that the Rams are going to win by at least a tutty. So that's some good news for the LA Rams fans. We don't have a distribution map for you guys this week, simply because it's a nationally televised game. We're on primetime under the lights at SoFi Stadium, which is going to be sickness. All right, let's get into the game notes here. These are two teams in a quarterback transition. Of course, the Rams moving on from quarterback Jared Goff to Matthew Stafford, the veteran, drafted number 1 overall the 2009 season, quite a while ago. And then Jared Goff was drafted number 1 overall in 2016, so the Rams and Lions swapped first overall quarterbacks. The Rams also sent some picks with Goff as well for them to take on that contract. The Chicago Bears, on the other hand, moved away from Mitchell Trubisky, who is now backing up Josh Allen in Buffalo, playing for the Bills. And they bring in Andy Dalton, they tell him he's QB1, and then they draft Justin Fields in the top 15. So what's really going on at the quarterback position is really what we need to know here. But either way, we do know that Andy Dalton is getting the start. Will we see Justin Fields? We will ask Rishi that, because I think he might have a better understanding of their quarterback situation than we do right now. The Bears ended last season at 8-8, so they were sitting at that right at that 500 mark. They had Andy Dalton, like I said. They told him he was the starter. Is Matt Nagy on the hot seat? That is quite the question right now, and it's very possible that he is. But it at least seems like he will get a shot to show what he can do without Mitchell Trubisky, and he now has a chance to run his team with either option, a veteran quarterback who's kind of been around for a little while, and a young athletic quarterback who's exciting to the fan base. So it's now or never for Nagy, man. He's got all the options. He's got the perfect situation. He's got the veteran who's been here. He knows what he's doing. He's comfortable. And then he's also got the young athletic guy who's got, potential for days out here. So the Rams moving on from an inconsistent quarterback to Matthew Stafford. That's a kind of a different, I would say it's a different situation as far as the veteran quarterback goes. The Rams also don't have like that young athletic guy that is being like, obviously the Wolf is an athletic quarterback, and so is Bryce Perkins. Bryce Perkins, I doubt, will dress for it, and I doubt that we see the Wolf. So it's a little bit different situation for these teams, but quarterback transitions for sure. Rams head coach Sean McVay says that the Rams are preparing for both Andy Dalton and Justin Fields. Unclear at this point if Fields will see any action. The prep is a positive, though. I mean, you don't want to not be ready for a mobile quarterback. The Rams are used to seeing mobile quarterbacks, especially in this division. And the second that Trey Lance takes over, the Rams will have the least athletic quarterback in the NFC West, with Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, and Trey Lance at that point. But we don't need to worry about that quite yet. Sean McVay sounds optimistic that Sony Michel will be up to speed enough to be able to play and contribute on Sunday. But I do think that there's a very strong chance that we're hopping on the Funk train to this weekend with Jake Funk possibly getting some snaps. For the Bears, tight end Cole Kmet is listed as the starting tight end over Jimmy Graham. Talent-wise, kind of makes sense. Jimmy Graham, a little bit old. Most expensive decoy in NFL history, I feel like. He's super athletic, but I don't know if he's like one of the best tight ends that we've ever seen. I think he's just a mad athlete for sure. Couple of former Rams here getting starts. So Robert Quinn is listed as the starter opposite of Khalil Mack. So Bobby Q is coming back. Maybe if he Bernie's on us, man, I'm going to be super sad because that's not going to be fun, man. I miss Robert Quinn. Good old Bobby Q. Also, Alec Ogletree, former Ram, will be starting at inside linebacker with Roquan Smith. So Tree played his best ball definitely as a middle linebacker in the 4-3 after Laurinaitis left. The Rams brought in Wade Phillips within the move to LA, and the Rams went to the 3-4. Tree struggled, man. He had trouble with that, and that's exactly what the Bears are going to be running, that 3-4. So he's also not the top guy, though. So what kind of impact is that going to have? Going to be something to keep your eyeballs on this weekend, because Tree was great as an inside linebacker in the 4-3. The second the Rams went to the 3-4, just like Robert Quinn, actually, they kind of fell off production-wise. And that's actually why we moved on from them. We wanted to get guys that could play in that 3-4 after we changed our system with Wade Phillips coming in. We haven't gone back since then. Wide receiver Simba Webster is listed as the starting punt returner for the Chicago Bears, and he is the backup kick returner. So we will definitely see Simba if the Rams punt, which, hopefully not. Hopefully, we all love Johnny Hecker, but I hope he doesn't see the field. You know what I mean? I hope he's just holding for extra points, and that's it. You know what I mean? And we don't see him out there, but we're happy that we do have him when we do need him. Simba Webster had 25 punt returns last year for the Rams for 185 yards. That's a 7.4 yard average. A long of 34 yards. That was his only return over 20. And he did fumble the ball 3 times. 2 of those he recovered. 1 of those he did lose. As far as the former Rams in Chicago, we talked about wide receiver Simba Webster, who is the punt returner. Alec Ogletree and Robert Quinn, who are starters. Nick Foles is the third-string quarterback for the Chicago Bears. And they also have former Rams kicker, short-term kicker for the Rams, Cairo Santos, who was the Rams kicker for a short time in the 2018 season when Jeezy was having some back issues. And then he was the kicker up in Denver. I remember that one. And then also very recently, the Bears have signed former Rams safety Marquis Christian. So he is there now as well. Let's take a look at the matchup on this one here. This is the Rams offense versus the Bears defense. As you can see on your screen for you YouTube viewers, that the Rams offense was definitely in the upper half. Not as far as points go, of course, but they were up there. I would like to think that they improved this year, but who's to say? We got to wait and see what Matthew Stafford can do. The Rams 13th last year, as you can see in passing. The Bears defense gets a lot of credit, and they're about where the Rams offense was as far as rankings go last year. So above average, or above the middle of the road, but I would say that's pretty pedestrian. I mean, 11th, they're 12th against the pass, 15th against the run. Nothing that really stands out, but again, that was from last year, so it is a completely new situation that we're dealing with here. Rams offense and Bears defense rank pretty comparable, actually. So it's going to be a fun one to watch on this part here, because we're going to see Matthew Stafford, who's played against the Bears plenty, but also the Bears have played against Matthew Stafford plenty. So that's going to be something that we'll see it unfold. I'm expecting a good game here from Matthew Stafford, though, and that's simply because I don't think that the Bears defense is all that it's cracked up to be. I like their front seven. Secondary, I don't know, guys. I'm not too into it. It was like the starting corners here, Jalen Johnson and Kendall Vildor. I had to look these guys up, honestly. And then like Eddie Jackson, I like Eddie Jackson, but is he that good? I'm not sure. Like, it seems like he got paid and then kind of fell off. So I'm liking what the Rams might be able to do in the passing game for this game specifically. I think that matchup is where the Rams will be able to win this out, because I think that the Rams have so many weapons that the Bears will have a hard time covering them. Running game, I think, will be what the Rams struggle to get going. Let's go to the other side now, the Bears offense versus the Rams defense here. And last year, Rams defense was absolutely unbelievable. Top in total yards, top against the pass, under 200 passing yards a game for the Rams given up. Only 91 yards a game given up on the ground. First in points, under 20 a game, and that's amazing in today's NFL. And then you look at the Bears offense from a year ago. Of course, no longer do they have Trubisky, but they still do have some weapons out there. Robinson is going to be a big one, but they were 22nd in the passing game last year, 26th overall, and they've only put up 23.3 points per game, which is actually exactly what the Rams put up. I did the list I was looking at had the Rams at 22 and the Bears offense at 23, so I kept it. I kept it because I liked it, and the Rams are ahead of them, so I'll take that all day. But here, I mean, the big matchup here is going to be obviously Aaron Donald going against that interior offensive line. I think we could see some really good stuff here. We'll talk about that more here in a second. And then Jalen Ramsey is going to be on Allen Robinson, and that's going to be a really good one too. So we'll talk about that as well here in a second. Let's take a look at the history of this matchup really fast before we get into the 3 to see. This is the 96th all-time meeting between the two teams. 2 of those games have happened in the playoffs. The Bears lead the all-time series 54-38-3. The most recent game between these two just last year in October, the 26th. It was a 24-10 win for your LA Rams. The first game between these two came on October 10th of 1937. How old were you in 1937? That was a 20-2 win for the Chicago Bears over the Cleveland Rams. Of course, 37 was the Cleveland Rams. Rams are 2-1 versus Chicago since returning to Los Angeles in the 2016 season. That loss did come in 2018, the Rams Super Bowl season. Rams have won the previous 2 matchups, though, and when the Rams host all-time against the Bears, when they play host, it's 24-23-1 all-time. So if the Bears were to win, that would be 500 all-time. But if the Rams win, we kind of just bump that up, just bump it just a touch, just a skosh of a bump on that one. Let's get into 3 to see here. We got Jalen Ramsey versus Allen Robinson. Robinson had 4 catches for 70 yards last year against the Rams. Jalen Ramsey is one of the best cover corners in the NFL right now. But Robinson, he leads the group here and should expect the matchup. This matchup to be the most common thing that we see. Of course, we do anticipate Jalen Ramsey moving around quite a bit, so we will see Darius Williams on Robinson at times as well, but Jalen Ramsey should be on Allen Robinson. We'll see what happens with that, because last year in the playoff game, we said put Jalen Ramsey on Davante Adams. Partially, that was the Packers trying to get Davante away from Jalen Ramsey. Smart move by the Packers, because Jalen Ramsey is a monster, so will the Bears do the same thing with Allen Robinson? I'm not necessarily sure, but we've also heard that Jalen Ramsey is expected to be all over the place. He's expected to be inside. He's expected to be outside. He'll come in on blitzes. So we'll see him in a lot of areas for sure. But this is a great test for the Rams DBs to start the season without John Johnson, who is a Brown now, as well as Troy Hill, who the Rams did have a year ago. So those are some changes to the secondary, but I do like their replacements. I'll be honest, guys. I know that John Johnson's a difficult guy to replace, but I think Jordan Fuller, not only does he have the respect of his team, but I think he's a better player than he gets credit for. Maybe that's just me, because he's like one of my favorite players, right? He is my favorite Ram player right now. So maybe there's a little bit of bias there, but I think that he's going to have a great season. I mean, he's a captain this year. The Rams players vote on captains. They don't just hand them out. You know what I mean? Let's see here. And then also the next one here on the 3 to see, Aaron Donald versus that Bears offensive line. The Bears offensive line has really no standout stars at all on this line. So Aaron Donald, no matter where he lines up, should be able to do pretty well. The Rams pass rush, led by Aaron Donald, should be able to create some pressure on Dalton, especially when you got like Leonard Floyd coming from the outside. Is Dalton mobile enough to buy enough time for guys like Robinson to create enough space away from Ramsey? Maybe, maybe not. Because of the Bears offensive line, though, the Rams defense should have a good day as long as David Montgomery does not get loose on those outlet passes. And that's really my concern here, is if those running backs for the Bears, especially Montgomery, if he's slipping out and getting those little outlets, something like that. Do we have the speed at linebacker? I like to think that we do, but that is also an unproven area for the Rams. So is a guy like Kenny Young going to be able to shoot over there and make the tackle? So that's something that we'll keep our eyes on for sure. And last one here on our 3 to see is going to be Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods versus Jalen Johnson and Kindle Vildor. Simply put, the Bears secondary on paper, not very strong, honestly. It's just not. The number of Rams weapons and the scheme that McVay can put together should allow for some space for the Rams' top 2 targets. This is leaving out Higbee and Jackson and Jefferson, everybody else, Tutu, everybody else, the other weapons. We're leaving them out on this one because I think that Kupp and Woods will be able to do a fine job against Johnson and Vildor. So with that, though, because those guys will be those are the top guys, I do think that somebody like Jackson could have a sneaky good game. Like he could get up. I don't want to put him up at like 130 or anything like that, but I think if he pulls off like 80 yards in his first game as a Ram, with the amount of games he's missed over the last couple with injuries, I think that would be a huge win for the Rams. So that attention will go to Woods and Kupp, but the Rams have a lot of weapons. So I'm excited to see that, man. That's gonna be a good one. But before we hit into our fan quesos, though, I had the pleasure of speaking to Rishi Baron. Here it is. So joining me today, we have Rishi Baron, who has 15 years of experience being a full-time sportscaster, different channels all over the country. Also a course director at the Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting. Part of the reason you guys have seen the progression and the quality of the show here at Rams Showcase. And most importantly, an awesome person and a Bears fan. So how you doing, Rishi?
I'm doing great, Joe. It means everything to me to be on your show. I've watched from afar from a while, and you do great work. So thank you for the chance to be on today.
Thank you so much for taking some time. I do appreciate it. We got a big game this weekend. It's Sunday Night Football. We get prime time for our two teams, which is always the great way to start the season. But like the song says, waiting all day for Sunday night. So we do have to watch a bunch of football before we get to see ours. But everybody will be watching ours. That's the fun part. So the Chicago Bears, we've heard a lot about the Chicago Bears this offseason with some of the different storylines coming out, quarterback positions here, and the hot seat potential for the coach. But for you, what are your favorite storylines for the Bears heading into the season?
Well, first of all, as you see, I need to get a new jersey because I still got the Mitch jersey. So hopefully this Fields kid will pan out over the course of the season. But yeah, I mean, it's all or nothing for the coach, the GM. It's all or nothing here. And I think they got saved by the fact that Justin Fields was available when he was, and they were able to trade up at number 11. Obviously, that's the obvious storyline that, Justin Fields, when will he start? How much of an impact will he make? But to me, the two key things that are going to determine whether or not the Bears get back to the playoffs are the offensive line and the secondary. So the offensive line is beat up. It's thin to begin with, but they signed Jason Peters, who I know you know a thing or two about old offensive tackles with your Rams, but hopefully he'll be the guy who fills the void. I'm optimistic. He's 39 years old, but they've got some decent players on the offensive line. The question is, how does it come together? Their second-round draft pick, Tevin Jenkins, they were going to start him at left tackle. He hasn't played a snap in the preseason. He's been injured. He's going to miss at least half the year. So how will the offensive line fare? If Jason Peters can stand in and solidify, that'll help. The other thing is defensive back. They decided that they were going to let Kyle Fuller go. He's now a Denver Bronco. And who does that leave? It leaves Kendall Vildor, who is not very experienced there in the secondary. They're very thin. Their best cornerback is a second-year player, Jalen Johnson. But if it can come together, if they can get the pass rush from the great Khalil Mack, maybe your boy Robert Quinn shows up this year. He didn't last year. They've got a chance to maybe make the playoffs, but it's going to take an O-line and it's going to take a secondary.
Yeah, if we see Robert Quinn, get to Stafford and do his Bernie, I'm going to be a little upset about that.
I won't. See that.
So the Rams are actually favored in this game by over a touchdown. It's 7.5 right now is where the line sits. So with that being said, if the Bears do pull off the win in this one, it is because
Well, they need to get pressure on Matthew Stafford, and they have had a lot of success against Stafford during, his time in Detroit. Now, his record is winning. He's 11-9 all time against the Bears, but you have to keep in mind the Bears hit some really bad teams during it. Every time they played a significant game against Stafford, they pretty much come out on top. So I like the fact that they know how to rattle him. Sean Desai, their defensive coordinator, first-year guy. Obviously, you had Brandon Staley last year. You're welcome for him. I know he's moved on to bigger things since then. But the big thing last year was the defense wasn't getting enough pressure. And Chuck Pagano retired to spend more time with his family. A lot of people are excited that Desai, who is a disciple of Vic Fangio, much like Brandon Staley was, he's going to be in there. So they're going to need to get pressure on Matthew Stafford. If they can do that, things could get very interesting, and you might be biting some nails, Joe.
I might be. We'll see, man. Quinn and Matt coming off those edges, that's pretty tough there. So Justin Fields, obviously we talked about that just a little bit there with that storyline is pretty big, but in what situation would we see Justin Fields in this game? Would it be an injury to Dalton, or do you think that something might be designed for Fields?
I don't think they'll bring him in just to bring him in. If they were going to do that, he would have gotten the start, right? But how likely is it he's going to play? Well, from what I've seen from your pass rush and our offensive line, the likelihood may be greater than we'd like to think. I don't think that NBC, when they scheduled this game as the opener, did it for Andy Dalton, right? They were kind of hoping Justin Fields would be the guy. He's shown that he's ready. He looks like a warrior. He looks like the kind of guy you can count on. His athleticism would help the offensive line if it struggles, but they don't want to throw him to the wolves just yet, especially with big number 99 coming in his face today. So I would not expect Justin Fields to play unless Andy Dalton gets hurt.
Yeah, that'd be quite a welcome to the NFL if your first game against Aaron Donald. We mentioned Robert Quinn is now a Chicago Bear. He's kind of been a couple places. Alec Ogletree also now a Bear starter, as what I saw on the website as well. So there's a couple of former Rams on the Bears right now. We got Robert Quinn, Alec Ogletree, Cairo Santos spent a little bit of time with the Rams. Simba Webster is the starting punt returner for the Chicago Bears. Of all of those former Rams, who do you think has the best game on Sunday?
I think Alec Ogletree. He has been fantastic in the preseason. Ever since they picked him up, it was a running joke. Every practice, he'd have multiple interceptions. I think he had something like 6 interceptions in 5 practices. It was unreal. But I really, I was a big fan of him. I wanted the Bears to draft him. I can't remember who they took instead. They may have been off by 1 pick, but they were close to landing him in the draft when he came out. I always liked what he did for your team. I know his production has dipped and he's had some injuries and things like that, but they need him right now. Danny Trevathan facing injury issues, so that's why he's starting. I think he's got a chance to be a really productive player for them. And I wouldn't be shocked if he has 10 tackles and maybe a strip sack or something like that if they send him on a blitz in this game. I think he can be a real impact player against his former team. Hopefully on the other side, Leonard Floyd won't do the same thing to us like he did last year.
Yeah. Wait, did he have 2 or was it just the 1?
He had at least 2. He may have had 2.5. I can't remember, but he definitely, that was his revenge game. And, he's a guy with great athleticism. The problem with the Bears was he never finished plays. He would get in the backfield. He just wouldn't finish. Well, it seems like you found some of the stuff he was missing in Chicago.
Hey, I'll take it. This is a wide open one for you. You can take this one anywhere. Finish this sentence. Andy Dalton will
start 3 games this year.
That's it?
I'm surprised I said that many. I think they want him to get his revenge game against the Bengals, face Myles Garrett. I think he'll start 3 games. So, no, I like Andy Dalton. I don't think he's a bad player. I think he's solid for what he is, but should he be the starting quarterback for this team more than a few games? I don't think so. Now, if he has success, they'll keep playing him. If he beats the Rams, if he beats the Browns, he might stick around for a while, but I don't think Andy Dalton's going to last long, especially with this offensive line, because he's not mobile. He can't get out of trouble.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see, man. I'm kind of curious to see that one because, in our division, we're kind of all eyes are on the Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance transition and when that's going to happen. And I have it about the same time as you have the Fields transition. I've got it about week 4 that I think we'll see Lance come in. So timeline.
Yeah, and I think it depends on wins. I mean, I really think it's that legit. And the 49ers have a good team. They start with the Lions. That should be a win for them. So if Garoppolo wins and stays healthy, I think he will play. Same thing with Andy Dalton. And again, Andy Dalton is not a bad quarterback. I think a lot of grief was given when they signed him because it looked like they struck out on quarterbacks when they were attempting to make deals for Russell Wilson and Carson Wentz, which is probably good that one fell through. But the whole QB1 thing, I don't know if you saw that. The Bears social media posted that he was QB1 and everybody laughed at that. Andy Dalton's a 3-time Pro Bowler. He's thrown for more 4,000-yard seasons than any Bear ever because none has. So he's not a bad player. He's not in his prime. Justin Fields is the better option. But for now, they could win some games with him.
Well, we're here with Rishi Baron, lifelong Chicago Bears fan, and taking some time to talk with us about this game that we got on Sunday Night Football. These last couple here, kind of a little bit of a rapid fire situation here.
All right, bring it.
Let's go ahead and hop into it. So by how much do the Rams beat the Bears by?
Well, it's a 7.5 point spread. I do think the Rams are going to win. I'll say they win by 9. I'll say the score is 20-11.
20-11. All right, I like that. The next one here, is Andy Dalton starting because Nagy said that he would when the Bears first signed him, and now they just don't want to hurt his feelings?
Well, I think Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace, the Bears general manager, have too much on the line to just be starting guys not to hurt their feelings. I do think Nagy is stubborn in his offensive ways. Dalton fits the system. I mean, they have the same offensive coordinator they had in Cincinnati for some of his productive years. So I don't think it's because they want to hurt his feelings, but I do think they did make that promise to him. Now, they did that before with Mike Lennon, and he didn't last very long in Chicago. He was out by week 4. There are a lot of comparisons to when Trubisky came in and Justin Fields, but Justin Fields is much more ready. I think Andy Dalton's honestly starting because they don't want to throw Justin Fields to the Wolves and get him killed the first few weeks. That's why.
It's a dangerous game to make promises before your roster's filled out.
That's true. Yeah.
Okay, so a lot or a ton? How much cooler are the Rams' modern throwback uniforms than the Bears' uniforms?
Oh, it's not true at all. I thought last year it was kind of crazy seeing them in the first game that they played at SoFi and seeing how they almost look like a video game. But they are slick. I'll give them for where you play at SoFi Stadium. I think it's a pretty slick look. So no, they're not cooler at all. But nice try.
They're a lot cooler, first of all. We got the white ones this week, man.
All right.
We only see them 3 times this year, and we get to open Sunday Night Football, SoFi Stadium, under the lights against the Chicago Bears on Sunday. Rishi, thank you so much for taking some time to talk with me.
Thanks, Joe. It's been a pleasure. Go Bears.
Rams fans that made it all the way to the very end of the video, my favorite kind of person, all the way here. Love you guys from the bottom of my heart. Appreciate you. Now, what I need from you guys is if you guys have not already, subscribe. And that's right going to be on this side right here. It's very easy to find. On this side here, if you liked this clip, I guarantee you're going to like the entire episode. So check that out right here. Peace. Go Rams.